Today we're going to take a look at some touch-ups, and I'm going to do very little here because that's for you to do and not for me to do, and I don't want to take away any ideas or options that you might have, and so I want to make sure that you can do whatever you'd like. But what I did is, since I'm on a computer and it's different for you on an iPad, is I went into Classroom and I just downloaded all 16 pictures so that I could play around. If I was a student, I could play around as much as I'd like. And the one I end up liking the best, that's the one I could really focus in on for my final assignment. And so then I went to add photos, and I added all of the photos from that folder. And once they were in there, I created an album and slid them all into the album. And so now today, I think I'm going to play around with this one, and I've done a few things on this one, so I want to find my versions, and I'm actually going to go back to the original. So here's the original photo. Okay, so here's what it looks like, and again, I'm not going to do too much to it, but usually when I'm working with a photo, the very first thing I do is I'll crop it. And in this photo, there's nothing interesting in the background. This girl just happened to be standing in my bathroom, and I snapped a picture of her a long time ago. So I'm going to crop her up here and crop it pretty tight because I don't want anything except the little girl, and I don't want distracting elements in the background. Now when we're cropping, make sure that you don't cut off someone's appendages. For example, here's her elbow here, and if I cropped it in this tight, we'd lose her elbow. I don't want to lose her elbow. Tiny bit of the shadow is okay, but not her elbow. And down here, if I didn't crop tight enough, I could leave just a little stub of a leg hanging out of a dress, and that's never any good either. So I'm going to pull it up so that it's nice and tight. We've got just the dress, and tuck it into the edges of her hair, and then I've got the crop that I want. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is, and all of your menus will start like this, okay? But I'm going to look at the details because I would like to give this girl like a china skin kind of effect. So right now you can see there are some ruddy rosy areas and some darker areas, and her skin looks a little fuzzy, and so I'm going to take this noise reduction and I'm going to bump it up pretty high. And look what I'm suddenly doing is I'm smoothing out her skin almost like she's a china doll. You can see it in through the shoulders. All the fuzzies of the hair on her arms are gone. So it's not super realistic, no, but this isn't a very great picture, so it's okay if I have a little bit of fun with it. So I'm going to smooth her out, and we've got this soft china doll exterior everywhere. I'm going to do just a tiny bit of color reduction as well so that the extra shades of color don't get in the way, but I want to maintain the beautiful red of her lips and the purple on the dress without anything else getting in the way. All right, so that's where I started. And then there are, let's see, I think it's in the effects menu. I'm going to increase the clarity just a little because you can see that there's not very much definition around her arms, separating her arms from the tile. And so I'm going to increase the clarity just a bit. And I don't want too much because now I'm changing the effects. You have to be careful because you're also affecting the rest of the picture. So let's see, I'm looking for just the right mix there. I'm going to actually decrease the clarity and maybe increase the dehazing. There we go. That gives me a little more definition around her arms, and I'm keeping it subtle. It's only at +8. I'm not sliding it all the way across. I'm going to keep it super duper subtle for right now, because I want this kind of light, airy effect. I could also do a harsher effect, but for me, I just want to go for this light, airy effect. Okay, all right, stop playing, Rebecca. You get the picture. You can play for hours and hours and hours. So next, I'm really bothered by the glare in her eye, the snot in her nose, the dirt on her face, which that's my kid, and so it is what it is, right? But at the same time, for this picture, I want to get rid of that effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on her eyes, and I'm going to grab the healing brush and make sure the size of the brush is the right size that you want. And for me, I want it to be the size of this line that creates the glare. And see how we're now looking at pixels? So I'm going to draw a line across, and I want it deep enough to get the eyeball to the edge of inside of the eyeball to the outer edge of the eyeball. And then here's the sample set. I need to scoot it down a little so we're just grabbing from the brown of her eye. And now the glare's gone. I'm going to do the same thing over here and draw a line. I don't want to go too far outside of her eyeball. And I'm going to bring the sample color that it's going to replace it with down into the brown of her eye. And I've got them both there. Okay. So next, you have to click off of it in order to get your hand. And when you click on it, you can zoom back out again. And then I'm going to zoom in around that snotty nose and mouth of hers. And we're going to clean that up a bit. And we're going to run through the same process here. And this time I can use a brush that's a little bigger. I mean, not quite that big. And I'm going to replace it. Wow, it's replacing it somewhere way far away that I can't see. How do I scroll up and down? There are no scroll bars on the side. Okay, and I know where we're sampling from. I might have to zoom out just a little bit so I can see better. I mean, it grabbed a piece of her face because you can see that the snot's gone and it's fine, but let's see, maybe if I zoom out a little bit more, that would be better. Okay, and I want the brush size a little smaller. I'm going to do this other snot bucket over here. Get this brush just small enough to tuck right inside her nostril. And, uh-oh, I'm not on my healing brush. I don't even know what I'm thinking. Okay, so we're going to do this side again. And see how it's sampling from her neck? I want it to sample from this lighter area on her face. So there we go. All right, and here I'm going to draw around her mouth, and it's going to sample. I don't want any eyebrow in there. I think I'll try and grab from this lighter portion of her face as well. And so here, when you're grabbing from variations on a face, you want to increase the feathering just slightly so that it will feather out the edges and it will blend a little better. All right, and I do the same thing with this last mess over here, and I'll have a beautiful little China doll. Oh man, look, it's grabbing from her arm, and I definitely don't want that. I want pieces of her face, not too ruddy there. And again, I've got the feathering option in there, and so feathered out her face. And now look, I've got a pretty clean little girl. I could do a little bit of detail like that little piece right there is driving me crazy on the corner of her mouth, but I'm not going to worry about that right now because this is your project and not mine. So there, I used the healing brush to fix a few things. And then what are some other options that you guys might be thinking? So if you open the edit option, I probably would just do a little more work on maybe the exposures and the brightness. This yellow here, I would change the hues because it's driving me crazy. But another way you could try to do that would be to try and use a preset and see if there's something you like. See, I don't like any of these because I'm going for a little China girl effect. And what this does is it completely takes away the innocent looking feel that we had on this girl. So I would not use any of these presets here. Okay, but just so you know, those are some options on some of your other photos. And I could do something fun with her, but I don't want to. So I'm not going to touch the presets today. Just want to show you that again. I would probably go to the brush, and I'm going to increase the size of the brush. I'm going to try and bring out this purple that's in her dress by adding a little hue. in the background. And so I'm going to color around, and I don't know if you can see that, but we're creating like a purple temperature, and you're noticing I'm not doing her arms. Okay, I'm moving around her arms to get just a tiny little purple hue. There, I could even make it a little more drastic. Let's see. There we go. That's a little bit more. And so there's just like this purple tint in the background, and you can't quite tell if it's there, if you see it, if you don't see it, but it is most definitely there. And if I were taking time, I want to make sure I don't get her arms or anything, so I want to keep that China doll look. All right, on the exposure, it's pretty bright, so I might bump that. Oh, I don't want to bump it down with a brush. I want to go back to the general edits and touch up the exposure just a tiny bit. And contrast, I might even soften that out. So if I were to take more time, this yellow is driving me absolutely crazy. It would go in and I would fix all of that. Okay, but you don't want to take your time here. I want to get out of here real quick. The vignette, I'm going to go with a darker vignette. Again, because the background is not important, I can make it super deep because I don't care about any of that. But I also don't want the contrast in her body to be washed out. So I just want to keep this soft look. So look, I'm actually dulling the contrast here so that I can keep this soft effect. And then there you go. That would be pretty close to my finished product there. I've got this China doll effect, kind of ethereal, like she's not even really there. It's kind of a dream state. And I've got the vignette all around her. So that is just one option for working with your edits. If you were to use more of a scenery type thing, you might do a little more with presets. But when you're working with people, the most important thing is to decide what you want their skin tones to look like and to really spend the crux of your time working with that, and then work with all the other pieces. But what kind of effect do you want on the skin tones? Scenery is a little bit easier because you can do a lot of special effects to it and not destroy somebody's appearance. So that was just a sample of what you're going to be doing. Thank you.